Hey.
It's us, the Normies. We're doing a look back at Game of Thrones Season 1.
What?
Show that started it all.
Do you remember?
Do you remember the time?
Remember where you were when you saw it for the first time?
Sound off if you've been here since Talking Thrones.
Yeah.
Yes, we were the first.
We were the first.
We did it first.
Not Rose and Bard did first.
Huh?
Rose and Bard.
I mean, like there's an actual show called Talking Thrones now.
Oh, there is? You got what?
Yeah, no, it's like this YouTube channel that kind of buys its subs.
Oh, you can't buy your subs, y'all.
That's
Unless you're
not.
getting
That's what I heard. That's what everybody
That out
said.
there.
Literally, I was at PatreCon hanging out with Alt-Shift-X and History of Westeros, two other Game of Thrones channels, and we were talking about Talking Thrones, and they were like, "You guys are Talking Thrones?" And I was like, "No, not the ones now." They were like, "Yeah, because those they buy their subs, I think." That's what they said.
Okay.
What's the
Word around a campfire.
We're gonna edit that bad boy out of
Shots
there.
fired.
But,
Out of the gate.
hey, we're the original, man. We're the Talking Thrones, the original ones. So
Yeah.
here we go. Let's start with episode 1. Marquetta, what is the name of episode 1?
The name of the episode 1 was Winter's Coming. You probably all know why.
Because it was
Because-
that started it
Because
all.
it was coming.
Because they said it 3 times.
It
Yeah.
was on the way.
Is it because
It
you
was
see
already
magic in
there.
that
It
one?
was like snow and
The
shit.
one thing I want to point out is that the 3 first characters that we ever saw on the show, how they started the show off, and they never saw anything ever again. He had fake Matt Damon, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Slave looking dude.
Everyone thought fake Matt Damon was the protagonist.
I thought he was the hero. I was like, yo, who is this guy?
We're about a whole 10 minutes.
Diet Damon.
Yeah, and then we had that
Damon.
we had that old guy that was with him too, I think, and then we had that one whippersnapper that was able to escape.
Yep.
The runaway.
So,
Will, man.
I really loved that first episode was like so by the book. Like,
Oh, yeah.
literally by the book.
Perfect.
The prologue was the intro.
Yeah. It was perfect.
I mean, like that first episode, like basically gave the whole story of Game of Thrones. This is it, and there was a mouthful, but like if you truly paid attention, you got everything that was happening.
The whole first season, I think, followed the book.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it was ridiculous.
So-
they did a really good. I mean, the books obviously have like a lot more shit in it. Even the beginning sequence, like they nightfall comes and they
Yeah.
make like a campfire and shit. But like
I've-
they got it down pretty like by the book, I'd say.
I got nothing for the books because I ain't read them. But correct me if I'm wrong on this. Isn't seeing the White Walkers for the first time that we see magic, and the next time that we see it is when Dany's dragons are born? In the
No,
entire
that is not actually.
So when is there more magic? Because I remember watching season 1 and being like, wow, there was some magic in the beginning, and quite hasn't been any.
We see White Walkers later on in the wall before Danny's thing. I think that's like 7 or 8.
Yeah, there's a zombie
They-
guy.
they get
Oh yeah, that's right, the whites. We see, that's
we
right.
see the Whites.
So throughout the whole thing, though, we only get like essentially like 3 droppings of magic, and then every time Dany doesn't get burned. So it's kind of, it gives you like a red herring where you think, oh, this is gonna be about fucking magic and all this, and then it's like, nope, hardcore politics for the next like 5 episodes.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was sweet because, like, I mean, right after that happened, we got to like take a look into their world. We're like, okay, they have these laws in there, and they have these rules where, like, if you do not follow them, you will get your head chopped off. And what do we see next? We see dude get his head chopped off, like good old fucking Ned Stark
With ice.
I do like that the show started with the White Walkers, though.
Yeah, it did,
Like,
it
this
did.
is actually what the show is about.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how we kind of felt when we first watched it too? Like,
It took me a few times to watch it.
I
Did you watch it when it came out?
Like I think I caught the hype when everybody was talking about Red Wedding. Like everybody was on Facebook.
That's how late? Damn.
Yeah.
Man, I think I don't know, but
I watched the show because one of my professors in college told me, yo, this is a really good show, you should check it out. It wasn't until like I saw it like, what was it, like episode 8, I remember, where I was like, okay, this is like really like different and intense. That's when I like realized it, like magic, obviously.
yeah.
What about you, Serge?
I did not watch it when it came out. No, Mickey and Pat got me into this actually. They invited me over to Heeds one time, and I was like, "What is this shit?" And I was watching it, and I was like, "This fantasy setting, Pat is into it." That threw me off so much. I was like, "There must be something unique about this show." Yeah. I just remember him being like, "I could watch because I want to see what happened to the kid at the end." And like, they were like, "Shh." I was like, "What? What happens to the kid?" I was like, "Oh, he gets things I do for love." Yeah,
Incest, child
that was
marriage.
enough right there.
All those-
to
yeah.
be like, oh,
What about you, Katie? What?
I watched it because it was recommended to me by my ex. It was when I watched season 1, season 2 was already out, and like I had no idea like when I watched the first episode, I got hooked because of kid falling, and I'm like, okay, I need justice for this child. So I just like continued watching, and then episode 9 happened, and episode 10 happened.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, there's the next season. I watched all of it, and I'm like, okay, I'm absolutely 100% addicted. Give me next season.
Nice.
And he was like, there's none. No, we have to wait. I was like, what?
Don't wait till begin. My buddy Dameron, shout out to the homie Dameron. He was like, "Yo, will you convert these videos for me so I can watch them on my Xbox?" And I was like, "What are they?" He's like, "Oh, it's a show." And I was like, "Yeah, I fucking convert it for you." And like while I'm converting, I was doing it in a handbrake, and so like I had started at the back end, and I was like, "Well, while I'm converting them, I'll at least watch the first one. I got shit else to do." And I watched the first one. I also had like typed in what you have to handbrake, like retype the file name. I misspelled it to Game of Thorns. Just like, man, this Game of Thorns shit is fucking dope, dog. This show is crazy. He's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, Game of Thorns. You know, you gave it to me. He's like, "No." But like, yeah, I watched the first one and I just binged it all because I had the whole entire season there. And that was in between seasons 1 and seasons 2. And yeah, man, it was just crazy. I didn't expect it to be anything like it was. I'm usually not in for the fantasy, but this one seemed intriguing and realistic in a way that most fantasies I watch aren't. Where this one seemed more like it was a perfect amount of fantasy and a perfect amount what seemed like historical accuracy.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Middle Ages were like, but I think it's all that murder and all the terrible things.
And the way episode 1, we got such a short glimpse of fantasy that you just forget it. You almost like forget about it with all the other shit that's going on.
Yeah.
You did for a while.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh man, like watching episode 1, that's why I had to watch it several times before, because it's such a dense story. There's so much name dropping, all these families. I did not get it the first time through. I had to watch it a few times, and then
When you first watched the show, which by the way, I think David and Dan, when they pitched it to HBO, they said it was like Sopranos on Middle Earth. Like that's how they pitched it to like an HBO exec. You know what I mean? For like a suit to understand like what's the appeal? Like how's this gonna appeal to people? And I just remember watching the first episode, like when Bran was climbing and like they're like playing the Robert's King theme. It's like da, 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 the king is coming. Oh, it was like such a cheerful like. What is this happy-go-lucky?
And everything was like, So in that scene, I think it was Peach that pointed out to me. Robert touched every Stark child. Robert touched. Each one of them died.
Yeah.
Everyone that he grazed or touched.
Don't let Robert touch you.
They all died.
But he didn't touch Rickon.
He did. He
touched Rickon?
He gave him a little.
Yeah, he died.
Yeah.
All of them died.
Yeah.
Speaking of the writing or the first episode and the pilot, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I was reading an article the other day. There is actually a pilot script of Game of Thrones that never got shot.
It's a whole. It got shot.
Yeah,
it did?
Reshot.
Yeah, they reshot.
No, but it was like really bad though, wasn't it? Like it was like super bad.
Yeah.
And it's like in a library in like Texas somewhere now. Like,
I hope they release it at the end.
Yeah, I want to see like what it was like.
Yeah. Another iconic scene that happened in that show, kind of like it really, really trudged on the lore of Game of Thrones, was that scene with Robert and Ned when they went down into the in the crypt and they talked about Lyanna for the first time. And then Rhaegar, you like kind of got to see like the anger because like they were the last remnants of that war of that time. You know what I mean? And then flash onto fucking Essos, and then you see fucking Daenerys.
And do you remember what Robert placed on Lyanna's?
Leaf,
Bird feather.
Yeah.
And it's in the teaser.
It's in the teaser.
What does it mean?
And Essos, and oh yeah. Also in Essos, when we go to Essos to go see Daenerys, we see the first glimpse of her being the dragon because she goes into that hot water.
Oh yeah.
Nothing.
Yep.
You're like, it's too hot, and she's like, whatever. And then she starts catching on to it.
And you see some boobs, and you're like, oh yay!
Well, those are the first
I do
boobs
remember seeing that when I saw that scene for the first time when she gets into the water, like when she was like, "It's too hot, milady," and I was like, "Oh, okay." Like I did think there was like something weird about that. I just didn't know.
Oh, weird.
I didn't know what
doesn't care.
We met this call too.
Yeah.
I mean, that is why she believed Viserys. That's why he was able to brainwash her, because she believed that he was the dragon that he could transform, because she knew she was like immune to fire or burning. So it was easy for him to manipulate her that way.
And she never put it together that like until she saw him. Oh, we'll get to that later too.
We get that later. I think we can go on episode 2. I mean, the last thing that happens in this episode, obviously, we see. I talked about earlier. We see Jaime and Cersei just get it on, and then obviously Bran.
And let's just honorable mention to the animals, the stag being
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
Direwolf
I
being
forgot.
pierced
Yeah,
by the stag being bit by the direwolf.
that was
like,
so iconic. You see, it was such an iconic thing.
I heard that.
Because then the stag dies.
Yeah, they both died.
They both die.
Oh yeah, the pups are alive. Are cute. Yes,
I heard that is the first scene that George R. R. Martin wrote when he was writing the series. Like that scene popped up into his head, and he had to write out like the direwolves being born. So that being mentioned, I wanted to spin off on another theory about the direwolf names, but we don't have to talk about it now. We can.
Go ahead.
I don't know who originally said the theory. I think it was Smokescreen, this other YouTuber who covers Game of Thrones. You guys might know him. He said that the direwolf names are like indicative to what the fate is for that Stark. I mean, kind of obvious, but like with Ghost,
that would make sense.
Shaggy Dog apparently, in a literary sense, means dead end, or like just like a no go, just like a loose end, which Rickon was kind of just like, we know what happened to Rickon. Lady sounds like it's trying to be like a lady of Winterfell. Or
what does Nymeria mean?
I think it's like in that world like a warrior.
Nymeria was a princess, but she was like, what's the blonde
Princess
girl?
Nymeria.
Brienne!
Brienne.
Oh my god, what a brain fart.
Brienne of Tarth.
Yeah, she was like something like Brienne.
Like a fighter.
Yeah, she was like
Nice.
a warrior princess.
And then
Summer would have been.
Maybe that means Bran is going to bring
Summer. Yeah,
Summer. Bran's going to be key to. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good theory, man.
Everything is intentional.
So,
I mean, if that's the first scene he came up with, it must have been pretty important to the plot.
About episode 2, I want to say. Yeah, I thought we were moving.
Yeah.
What's the name of episode 2, by the way?
The name of episode 2 is Kingsroad.
Because Kingsroad.
Kingsroad.
So here's one of the things that really stuck out to me in episode 2. Is that by this point, next episode, you see Tyrion being like, I wonder what's going to happen when he wakes up. And then Jaime being like, I wonder whose side you're really on. And then you're like, hold on, does Tyrion even know what happens? Like, it's a whole entire thing where you start questioning the answers that you're being given already.
Like, Tyrion knows, though. You know it.
Did he know?
When they have the conversation at breakfast, like, he gives everybody the side eye. He knows that, like...
Something probably happened.
And they know that
he
can assume that that's why he was thrown out of the window.
Also,
because he saw some shit.
I don't know yet. I don't know because I rewatched it recently.
I
couldn't tell if Tyrion knew.
Tyrion had an idea. He was like something.
He was 100% giving everybody a very convincing side eye.
I'd be curious to know what the boy says when he wakes up.
Yes, exactly. Said that. Another thing, I think this episode also had the last time they saw each other, and that was the last time.
There's lots of those.
I think that was the last time Ned and Jon saw each other. And I think before Ned left, he told Jon, "I will tell you about your mother."
I promise. I promise.
Oh, and that's when I'm sorry. Maybe this happened in the episode before. I can't quite remember. But when Benjen Stark was like, he was like, "So you're gonna join the wall?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "It means you won't be able to have like any kids or wife." And then Benjen says, "If you knew what that meant, maybe you'd think twice." And it's like. Did Benjen know?
Does he know
does he know? Does he know his fucking lineage?
Can you repeat that?
So Benjen told how when you join the Black you can't have kids or you can't be with a woman, right? Benjen Stark was telling Jon. He said, if you knew what that meant, like you would think twice, right? Was he saying if you knew what having sex felt like, you would think twice, or is he saying if you knew that you're the fucking true rightful heir of this whole entire kingdom, you would think twice about not being able to have kids and have lineage and all that?
I think it was the former, but rewatching it now, it's like
it's super coded.
And they really drill in Ned's honorableness, honor. Like so, like all the clues are right there. It's like, nah, man, he didn't cheat. Like he's not that dude. And like all the clues were right there. But the misdirect was like when him and Robert were having a conversation, and he mentions Wyla.
Yeah,
that's the
He's like, you never told me about the.
So that was the misdirect.
Nor will I.
Yep. Because she doesn't exist.
And I love
it's my sister.
Watching it on a rewatch because you can just see the emotions on their face. You can see Ned just holding in the lie. Like he's just. Oh man!
I love watching Ned and Robert's scenes because they're the ones from the past and he's hearing their voice. They know what happened. It's like such a good time. It's just so good on a rewatch because you're like, you know the lore, you know these guys are just like these badass fucking warriors. Because honestly, on my first time watching, I had no idea about this show. It was literally, I think, on my second or third rewatch where I realized Robert Baratheon was this fucking amazing warrior and Ned Stark was an amazing warrior too.
Yeah,
it's one of those things where they talk about the history of it so that they talk about it. It's a lived-in universe. Like they talk about it and you know it existed and you know it happened. And you know it meant something without them having to like be like, well, remember that one thing that happened that one time and like really super explaining. They mention it offhandedly people really do like about that awesome time, that awesome thing happened.
What also happened on the second episode?
So besides the Kingsroad, Ned taking off and going to
Does Danny get married
King's
this one?
Landing.
John and Rob also said that for the last time.
Danny
Oh, yeah,
got married,
John and
I
Rob,
think,
right.
at the end of the first episode.
Yeah.
isn't it?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and then the following episode, they're kind of like cruising around the endless grass sea, and there's one scene that I like really like, and I didn't pay attention to the dialogue, probably my bad, but I loved when Jorah was telling Daenerys about the mythology that the
Dragon's eggs.
no.
The Dothraki
The
believe.
Dothraki believe that there is in the Shadowlands beyond the Shire.
The show.
The grass is always gray.
Yeah.
And the Dothraki believe that one day when all
It'll cover everything.
it will cover the whole earth, which is for their environment and for their what they're used to.
They don't have a concept for snow.
They don't have
So they
concept for
wouldn't know.
snow or frost. So
it's like
for them
it's
it's like
when the white
it's
covers
a shadow
grass.
land.
Yeah.
Damn.
And so that I blew my mind when I watched it now because I didn't pay attention to it, or even in the books I didn't put the two and two together. These are intertwined universes. It's just so genius
Season one is so good.
for George
dude.
Martin to think about that and just create the universe so complex.
I like speaking to how the show is written and just George R. Martin's writing in general, with how dense the story is and how he introduces characters. He'll name drop people that you won't see for 2 more seasons.
Yeah.
And his not exposit when he's explaining stuff, it's very realistic. It's conversational. It's not like Mance Rayder who was blah 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 blah. It's just the mention of the name, and so it's really. It's kind of like the bittersweet to his books because that's what makes it kind of difficult to read because it's just so fucking much. But then when you finally get it, you're like, oh shit, this is genius.
I gotta commend the people that were first watching the show when it was on that kept watching it because I do admit it took us a few rewatches. It took me a few rewatches to really grasp what was going on and all the past Greyjoy Rebellion and all this shit.
Yeah.
I have to imagine watching it for the first time on HBO week to week, you couldn't catch all that stuff. So I'm glad the initial crowd stuck with it.
So another thing that happens in episode 2 is that Tyrion decides to go up to the wall, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is awesome because Tyrion is a traveler and he's knowledgeable and he wants to see more about the world, but he still doesn't believe in those things. And also, it begins a thing that I would like to call Lannisters telling the Starks how the world really works. Where he's I think Jon Snow's beating ass and he's just they weren't raised by the Master of Arms like you. Maybe if you stop fucking stunning your privilege on these motherfuckers and help out some people. Because that's when he's first up at the wall, learning the ropes.
No,
right?
I don't think that happened.
I think
I
it was
didn't
on
like
the
it.
way.
And
episode 3.
But he was talking to him about how I have to train
In
my
the book.
mind.
Yeah.
In episode 2, there is another really good conversation between Jon and Tyrion when they're camping out and they have the two. I think Pip was there, and and he was these guys are basically robbers and rapists, and he's not what you expected, huh? And he's reading a book there too, and he mentioned something about knowledge is power.
And so
he says that
the book is his whetstone.
His mind needs books as the sword needs a whetstone.
you
that's what it
see
was,
We just mentioned that also.
Oh.
You see that trope happening a whole bunch, and I know that it's a little bit further in the future, but you see Tyrion do that with Jon. You see, what the fuck is the old boy's name? Excuse me, I forgot. I'm tripping. Jaime Lannister says that shit to Ned Stark when he's just the king shits and the hand wipes. Everybody, the Starks have this idea of how the world should be because they're idealistic, but since the Lannisters live down in the capital, they know what's up.
Yeah.
And they're constantly telling the Starks, what shit is. Even when Cersei's oh, what, you wouldn't do this to protect your children? So what if we fucking are doing incest? I don't care. And he's well, you've got until the next day to get your children out of here. And she's okay. But what I'm saying is it's a whole. It starts at line of the Lannisters constantly telling the Starks how shit really works.
I had a conversation with John also, and Jaime told John oh, it must be so thrilling to be able to serve in such an elite force.
Episode 3 is Lord Snow. Oh, I'm sorry.
Lord
Snow.
Lord Snow.
So that
The
one
Night's
is
Watch.
mostly about the Night's Watch.
And that's where
Is
the
that
Pip
when
stuff happens.
is that when
Yeah.
Sam Tarly comes in?
Sometimes comes
Yes.
in.
That's
Sam
when Sam comes in.
Please, no.
I think that's. I think this is also when Khaleesi finally gets with Khal Drogo, and it's not a whole.
It's not rape. It's
Yeah,
not rape.
last episode it was like that, but this episode
By
they
the
were
way, in the books, it wasn't really rape,
okay.
right?
Oh, it was not a rape.
It was not the way it was on
It
the
wasn't
show.
rape.
Yeah.
But,
But
it was still awkward though. Like she's like,
Okay, so listen.
12.
She's 12, okay? She gets
I thought
married
she was like 14.
to a horse lord.
The book really goes into detail. It's like I felt his seed in me.
yeah,
Oh,
it's pretty.
God.
It's pretty graphic.
But
even when
it was
he
definitely
died,
not
she was
No,
like
it
thinking
wasn't.
about having sex with him one last time.
So I think that is just like kind of the show being, I don't say real because the rape issue is kind of an issue in some parts of the show.
Yeah.
But for like her, I think that's just to show you that like she's becoming part of this different world and like it fucking sucks. And she doesn't really have much agency or say in what she does.
Yeah.
When Khal Drogo's like, no. And she's like, well, fuck, like, here I am. I guess I have to do this, but like 100% she's
I
not.
think this episode also she kind of realized what she truly is. She goes, I want to be Khaleesi, not a queen, because her brother comes after her, and then her people, the Dothraki, go after him.
Yeah.
And then she realizes, oh shit, I have power.
Yeah.
Good episode. Episode 3 is good. Lord's know that.
All it took was going into cowgirl.
Yo,
Dude,
They were like, there's so much doggy style sex in the show that when someone gets on top, it's a plot point.
You guys remember anything else for this episode? Can we go on to the next one?
Episode 3?
Caitlyn goes to King's Landing.
Yes, she does.
Oh, yeah, never mind. There was the other episode. Cersei has that like touching conversation about her son that was born, and then
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I
When
know.
she's sitting up there with
Episode wasn't in the
the
book,
cat.
Right? That was
Yeah.
episode 2.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah. But
Wait.
you know she's lying.
That's
Yeah.
also when.
You think she's lying?
Episode 2 is also when the attack.
She killed all of her
happens.
monster kids. All the kids that like.
No.
Right, that was
I think what that story might have been. Maybe that was Robert's son, but it was a miscarriage.
Yeah, it was a miscarriage.
Like
He had a
that
miscarriage.
was actually supposed to be.
That
Robert's
was
son.
the miscarriage that she had without him. Whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what I assume.
I don't know.
Episode 4. What's the title?
Episode 4 is titled "Cripples, Bastards, and Broken Things."
More
Oh, yeah.
solid information from the homie Tyrion.
Yeah. I think this is the episode where Ned finally gets to King's Landing. He meets Jamie for the first time, and I remember him being super mean to him, dude. 'Cause,
Oh, yeah.
obviously he was a Kingslayer.
They met back in. I mean, this was the first scene they had together, but it's assumed that they met back in.
Actually,
No, they had a scene in the first episode where he's like, "Oh, you're not fighting any tournaments."
That's right.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want a man
Take
in there
that
when I
back.
fight. Like,
No,
no,
but
I'm
he-
talking that shit.
No, but
Sam.
like the scene I remember is like Jamie sitting at the throne, like being the Kingslayer, and then
Yeah.
Ned walking in, and they just had this whole conversation about
But
like
you
how
know
he
what?
stabbed him and like his dad died and shit.
Yeah.
Jamie wasn't mean from the get go. Like he was snappy, like he was his
Yeah.
Jamie self, but like it kind of escalated to more of a thing.
I have this written down, and it's why does everyone give Jamie shit? And I think it's because one, he's
Kingslayer.
well, I know, but like
But he did
Both
what had
right.
to be
every
done.
he did, yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like he kingslayed, but he did it because it needed to be done. But
But-
no one's willing to let him live that down because Jamie's always kind of been like, I think in my head, like this fucking pretty boy, like he's kind of this prick. He's kind of this guy who's always been on top, always doing dope things, and people kind of like hate him for that. Like they're jealous of him.
but-
So when he finally fucks up and does a kingslaying, they're like, we're never gonna let you forget that. We're never gonna let you live that shit down. Like even Rob was like, Kingslayer, get in here. Tell me about the first man you ever killed.
I agree, but I think it's also as much as they might have hated the king, it is like you're not supposed to do that. So like just cancel it. So nobody wants to not. I'm sure people, in secret, are like, yeah, he did
The
what had to be
embarrassing stuff
done.
he did.
But you can't just outright say that in
Or
public.
maybe they don't want to normalize kingslaying, so they're like,
Yeah,
shit talk.
Also, I don't think Jamie told everybody exactly what was going down there with the wildfire and Mad King and everything. Like he only told Brienne that one time in season
Yeah.
3. I
He
don't
told-
think he like
And
tried to go into great detail
yeah,
with
sure.
everyone else.
in the books, they call her Brian.
Yeah, O'Brien
Brian of
and
Town.
Pataya.
Pataya.
Pataya Baelish.
Also, in that episode, we get a look at the old council, old squad.
Oh yeah, once
Yeah,
again,
rattle them up.
Yeah, bro. It was Ned Stark, Peter Baelish, Grandmaster Pycelle, Lord
Pycelle,
Varys,
dude. Fucking
and Renly Baratheon.
Yeah.
Bradley's ass was on that.
so Ned comes in, idealistic as fuck, and he's like, "Let me tell you what this should work." And they're like, "Oh no," he's like, "The crown's in debt for that amount." I'm like, "Oh no, for
6
fucking
million.
6 million." And he's like, "How?" And they're just like, "You think that like this shit just runs like how? What now?" Like once again, Ned has an idea of how things should be, and he shows up, and it's like, guess what? Everything's not how you thought it was gonna be. And does he adapt or does he not adapt? Because I think Ned's got an issue with adapting, and that's why he ain't got his head no more.
Ned-
Well,
and
no,
Ned-
listen, you cannot adapt the if they they were irresponsible with money, and
Yeah.
like that's why they cannot say no to Lannisters. Obviously, if I was Ned Stark and came into that situation, and suddenly that became my responsibility, suddenly I inherited somebody else's debt, I would have an issue with it. I would not adapt to that shit. I wouldn't continue to spend Lannister money or try to like save money. But instead, like he's forced to have a tournament to his aunt, like to celebrate him, even though he doesn't want a fucking tournament. The tournament still fucking happens.
That is what was interesting about the conversation is like you really like found out the power of the Lannister like wealth because like even when they were talking about the tourney, Peter was like, yeah, I'll just borrow it from the Lannister.
And speaking of tournament, we know what happened then.
Oh yeah. Is that one when the fucking Gregor Clegane chops off a horse's head? Is that the one?
Oh yeah.
The Clegane brothers.
But before that, he murders the squire. That he murders John Aaron's squire.
Yeah, and Ned had suspicions. Ned had suspicions about John Aaron Squire because he was like, how did he afford all this shit all of a sudden? Like, how is it all working out? You know what I mean?
And guess what?
Before you questioned him, he died.
And he died. It was so graphic. He was just like, because like the camera was like on him, and he's like spurting blood out of his mouth. Like they held that shot to his last breath, and then it rack focuses to Sansa, just like.
We also see Loras Tyrell, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we also see so different.
Come on.
So, a couple of notes that I want to say about this episode.
Is that? Well, did we get the Renly Loras scene that episode too?
No.
Oh no, he says what did he say? Fuck. He says oh maybe you'll get something to buy something for your friend. He goes, oh something like Peter retorts back in a way that very much says, everybody know y'all fucking shut your mouth.
Peter's
so funny. I don't know what Renly said to him, but Peter's retort was when
he said maybe you'll be able to maybe you'll be able to do something with your friends, and he's like, when are you gonna have your friend?
Yeah, when will you be having your friend?
Yeah. Was Peter just spouting exposition back there too when he was like, it's like that's the Hound.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like Sansa's like, I don't give a shit about
but that was his way of flirting with Sansa because he's a fucking weirdo.
And the
so
Mountain
weird.
was a different actor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of things that I wanted to point out in this episode. Cersei is just a really horrible parent to Joffrey in a way. Like she's a good, like she loves Joffrey and will do anything, but she's like literally telling Joffrey. She's basically telling him like, you know, Joffrey's talking about like Joffrey got bit by that
by the wolf,
and he's like, well, they bit me. I was like like a coward. No, my little lord. Everything will be the way you tell it. So whatever lies you say, everybody will believe. You will make the world you make it. And basically just literally feeding into his ear like. Everybody's our enemy. That's not us. Just like from the beginning, being horrible. It's like obviously he's gonna be a little shit, you know.
Told him he could painted horses.
Exactly. And then two more things. There were two more. The last time they saw each other, Cat.
This is too many of those.
Yeah, I know. But Cat and Ned, they said a very beautiful goodbye. Like you didn't even know that was the last time they see each other. But they sat. It was so beautiful how they said goodbye. And then Benjen said bye to John at the wall.
Yep.
Because he went off.
Uncle Benjen.
No, they see each other again.
When?
Benjen rescues John.
Yeah, when he's cold hands.
Oh,
but the Ned and Cat scene, like on the rewatch, I definitely like felt different about that scene. And as she was riding away, I was just like, look back.
I know.
That's it.
And she does it.
Oh, a quick rewind again. When Arya in episode 2, when Arya let Nymeria go, I had to like pause right there and be like, I just gotta see what Nymeria looks like again, because when she showed up in the last season, like she's like fucking huge.
Yeah.
They did such a good job of making they did one close up that made it look exactly like her, and I was like, damn, they really paid attention to the details.
Yeah. Oh, I think we might be remiss too. One more for the down back is the relationship between John and Arya.
Yes.
Which is like super understated, but he gives her needle, and like you can tell that out of all like the brother and sister that they have like the closest connection with each other.
Yeah. He was pushing her to actually pursue who she wants.
Yeah, and we're gonna get that reunion, and that reunion is going to be like.
Don't jinx it.
There was also I forget what episode it was that we talked about the episode where Arya looks at like Nesbitt's like, yeah, you're gonna have little lords and little whatever, that's not me. And then she goes back and she starts balancing. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude.
Back to fighting.
All right, episode 5 is next, and that's
the wolf and
the lion.
All right,
the fight everyone had been waiting for.
It didn't even happen in the books.
They did.
No, they did.
They did?
No, that you're talking about the one outside the whorehouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens.
JK.
So Caitlyn goes back home from King's Landing, and on her way back, she encounters Tyrion and captures him.
Yep.
And she goes down.
And she starts the war.
Yeah, and Tyrion's confused as fuck.
Yeah.
Tyrion is like, what did I do, bro? I'm with y'all. What's going on?
It really sucks.
Oh yeah, Bronn. here to get Braun.
Yeah, like I am 100% Team Stark. Like I love them in a lot.
Yeah.
All the values they hold so dear, but boy, they're so stupid.
They fucked up so many.
I mean,
things.
that was Littlefinger pointed them in the direction.
Littlefinger's a little shit though, bro. You gotta give him that.
That was one of the best lines when Littlefinger is pointing out with they're talking. He's walking with Ned and he's pointing out all the eyes. He's like, that one belongs to me. That one's Varys. That was and Ned is like, maybe I was wrong to mistrust you. And Littlefinger was like, mistrusting me is the smartest thing you've done since you got off that horse.
God, fuck him.
And that was so good. And then the scene where Cat captures Tyrion, that was kind of a funny scene because he just walks in and he's like, "Oh, hey,
what's up, dude?" Yeah.
And like, she
you Lord.
No, she kind of
He's like, "What? What's going on? Why are you dancing?"
Like, she tried to like pull up her cloak for a second, like she's like, "Oh fuck!" Like she wasn't ready for it, and then like and he's like, "Well, these are all nice friends you have. Why are you telling me this? Is there a point?"
Man, and they got poor Tyrion.
It's like doesn't matter how nice he was throughout then.
And we met Braun.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, even before he met Caitlyn, he stopped at Winterfell and gave Bran the saddle.
Yeah. Once again, proving that Tyrion is like either above it all or just like doesn't give a shit.
I mean, he's been treated by his family in a way.
Also, he has a soft spot for Cripples bastards.
That's right.
Yeah.
Also, wasn't this episode where Varys has a long talk with?
Where he like just tells him
his secrets off.
Yeah.
It's like whoa, slow down.
And then like and Ned's just like, what?
Yeah.
Wait, he has to talk with who?
Like Varys and Ned have a long talk, and Varys basically like he's like Varys like, you're probably one of the more honorable people here. And I think also in that episode we see a scene where Arya's in the dungeon. She sees the dragon's head.
Yeah.
And you see Varys with
talking with Illyrio.
Illyrio. Not Illyrio.
Yeah, it was Illyrio.
Okay. Yeah. And you still have Robert the whole entire time.
Like the lion and the wolf will be at each other.
Robert's always like fucking worried about Dany, and he just doesn't see anything that's happening in front of him.
To that Varys?
Huh?
I don't know. It seemed like he was planning something much grander.
I think he was just trying to put a Targaryen back in the seat.
He's putting the Targaryen
because he knows that Robert isn't a great leader.
He's been a Targaryen
loyalist from
loyalist.
Isn't this the episode where they capture Osha?
Yeah.
They
start attacking.
Osha is one of my favorite side characters.
Osha's hilarious.
And there's a really good interaction between Osha and Theon, where Theon's like fucking with her, and he's like, "Well, isn't she like a slugging slave to what's the Maester? What's his name?
Yeah,
Maester Lewin.
Maester Lewin.
And like he's just like, I mean, are those things like mutually exclusive? Like, look at you, homie, and that's where you start realizing that. Oh yeah, I forget. Like this dude's like captured here.
And he's like, how are you Lord of Pike if your dad is?
It's like,
well, thank you, Lord. Also,
a couple of forgot to
you're having a go at me.
Forgot to mention Ross. Ross was
Ross.
like,
Ross is awesome.
and there was also this.
Back in King's Landing
the number one hustling hoe of Westeros.
Yep, Swedish red shit out
She was a
here.
boss ass bitch.
And there was also the scene between Tyrion and fucking Theon, yeah. Where he's like Tyrion basically leaving. He's like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go slump myself in a whorehouse. He goes, he throws Theon on a coin. He's, yeah, have her on me as well too.
Yeah.
And then he literally that next episode goes, has her.
Oh, he's like, I wonder what a ghost's like down there.
And then when Ross is leaving and Theon is like still saying like mean shit, and then like as she's like in the distance, he was like, "I'll miss you."
Yeah. He's also like, let me see it one more time. Well, like Theon is such a he's a fucking simp, like through and through. And like he can't get respect anywhere. The only thing he's good at is fucking and like shooting arrows and fighting and shit. And that's the only.
I remember
all he's got going.
The thought when they were in the Godswood and Catelyn was telling them like Roderick Cassell and like Jory and these other people, they're all dead.
my boy Jory.
Like she's like, oh, all this conspiracy is happening. I think the Lannisters tried to kill Bran twice, and then like I realized Theon is the only one that's still alive in this scene. That's so crazy. Like when I was watching it, I wouldn't expect the little shit Theon to be the one that's still breathing, but
and to be such an integral part. Like he became a very integral part. Yeah. And speaking of Jory, they did my man dirty.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
In the eyeball.
Yeah, he didn't need to go out like that.
And because he didn't die right away because it was in him, and he was like, and it was like, fuck.
Yeah. And I thought he was just an important character. He came about like no one.
And he was.
I heard one thing in this episode from Osha that made me terrified for this season, and she said that when she was telling Bran about how it looks beyond the wall, she said that there are spiders big as hounds.
Yeah.
Are we gonna
spiders?
see that?
I mean, they gave us a zombie bear.
Yeah.
There was, but like we didn't see fucking spiders being in the house.
Zombie wildlife. Maybe that was like a pullback, you know, like
straight Harry
maybe
Potter.
they went with the polar
And
bear.
they're like, can we do that? No, don't mention the spiders again. Don't mention the spiders.
Well,
Dude, if they make them look
We already mentioned
terrifying,
giants. Fuck, we gotta do that somehow.
I'm like, you know, at this point, like they like sprinkle things everywhere. So at this point, like I heard it, I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah.
episode 6 is called The Golden Crown.
Oh, we're gonna talk about the actual duel itself, bro. Ned Stark, toe to toe, like the best sword in Westeros.
Oh yeah, and like you can tell like that fight had been building.
Oh yeah.
Cause they've been shit talking each other enough that you knew, and then
That's when I got hooked. That's when I was
Yeah.
like, give me the shameless sword fight that everyone wanted to see. I don't
That's so
care.
dope.
I
and
was-
Jamie was so shitty he didn't get to actually fight him.
Yeah.
Like he like fucking knocked that dude out. Like man,
Yeah,
that could have been a fight. That could have been.
When he
We'll
speared him,
never
yeah.
know. We'll never get it. We'll never know.
All right, sorry. The
Episode
Golden Crown.
6.
What happened to this one again?
Oh yeah.
Golden Crown.
I don't know.
One of the best deaths ever.
Yes, this is very
Oh,
sad.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
This is as far as I made it.
I think in the beginning of this episode is where like fucking what's her face's name? Cersei starts like bitching at Ned for like getting into a fight with fucking Jamie and all that
Yeah.
good shit, and then like Robert like slaps her
Yeah.
and like fucking tells her off and like tosses Ned by himself.
And she's like, I'll wear it as a badge of honor. And he goes, you better leave before I honor you again.
I think then
God, the writing
Ned,
is so good.
Ned should have realized how important Robert is and how he needs to like just make sure he has some kind of thing where he's in charge, where like he leaves some kind of power back.
But Robert is the king, and like with Robert, his downfall is him wanting to wild out. You can't tell a king not to wild out.
Yeah.
You just gotta be like, fuck, man, I don't think you should wild out. He's like, no, I'm gonna go and wild out. And he's like, well.
Yeah, he's trying to fight an attorney and shit.
Yeah, he was like, no one could have protected him from himself. Even though the Lannisters made sure he was drunk, Robert put himself in that situation.
yeah.
He
Because
used to
instead of being
have,
a king and instead of dealing with that shit, he fucking rode out so he wouldn't have to deal with it.
He used to have fucking
Counting
like
coppers.
he used to have orgies intentionally when Jamie was
Yeah.
guarding
Yeah.
the door just so he could like make him hear it.
I'd make him smell
He
my
was
fucking
like,
fingers too.
It
Fuck
makes me
him.
listen as he disrespects my sister.
Yeah,
fucked up.
that's messed up.
And what else? Okay, and then the last thing that happened, obviously, we see we see fucking what do you call it again? Viserys get Golden Crown finally because he loses his shit and realizes that
And we
he's not
see
in charge anymore.
Aquaman give one hell of a speech.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that made me so hyped for the future of the show. I was like,
I know.
yes,
I know.
yes, let's get the Dothraki over
That's
this.
when I was like, I knew Jason Momoa from like fucking Baywatch, okay? And then he was just like, I'll do it.
He was in Baywatch?
Like I swear, I was like, I
Oh,
can't
that
believe.
speech is fucking.
Yeah.
I know.
And like you don't even know
Pitting.
you don't even know who you're rooting for, but you're like, fuck me, whatever's gonna happen. This dude's bringing the fucking heat.
That like him dying pissed me
That was a
most.
disappointing death. That was a
Yeah, the pattern of the show is just like it doesn't matter how badass you are.
Yep.
A simple cut could like. Actually, in the books, his wounds are a little bit more severe. Than
Well, I think the witch poisons him in the show. But here's the thing, though, is that Khal Drogo gives in any other show, someone who gives you a rallying speech like that is going to like fulfill all those things. But in this show, this dude who just he mobilized his forces that never wanted to go across the narrow sea, right? He got them all hyped up, ready for it. He was like, "We're about to start this army. We're about to start raping and pillaging, so we can get the money for this shit." Like he had those ambitions in him, and like he just dies because like it doesn't fucking matter how hyped you are for some shit. When they pull your car's pulled, son.
Episode 7. Okay.
You win or you die.
Yeah, this is a very important episode because a famous quote is said by Cersei Lannister in the Game of Thrones.
You live or you die.
You live or you die.
And
Fucking
who was she telling that?
You win or
Ned
you
Stark.
die.
Yeah, you win.
Once
You live or you
again,
die.
a
You live or you
Lannister.
die. You live or you die. He says to Ned Stark.
Once again, a fucking Lannister telling a Stark what it is and
Yeah.
how it works, even though the Stark has it in his head how things are supposed to work.
He didn't even know he was playing though.
I know, right? That's what I'm saying.
This is the episode where I feel like
Like, wait, we're playing
this is the episode where I feel like everything went to shit for Ned. So like in the beginning of the episode, like I think Ned confronts
And he warns her.
And warns her, hey, fucking before Robert gets back. But as Robert gets back, he's like about to die because he goes fucking hunting and shit
Because
like that.
of Lancel.
Lancel
Yeah,
Lannister.
Lancel
Lancel,
Lannister.
cousin fucking Lannister.
Fucked
Cersei was
him.
my cousin.
Fucked him.
I still
And like,
fuck.
and like Ned could have saved himself, bro. He has so many fucking chances. Straight up, Renly comes up to him and was like, "Hey man, let's get the fuck out of here, bro."
No, he said, I'll give you 100 of my guards
Let's
tonight.
get this going now, bro. And Ned's like, "Nah, man, we're gonna do this nice. We're gonna do this
He
political."
said, I don't want to
this
shed
good."
blood in Robert's castle, like, to disrespect.
Dude.
And guess what? He should have been.
He should have. It was fucked. Because as soon as that shit happened, that's when Varys pulled his shit back. That's
Yeah.
when
should have.
Littlefinger made his allegiance. He was like, I already know what I gotta go do.
Yeah.
Ned was like, that was Ned's death sentence
They
right
all
there.
gave him chances. They all gave him chances to
As soon as he said no to Renly was the death of Ned Stark.
Yeah.
I remember watching it and being like, good for Ned. Like, he's taking an honorable route. Like, he's not buckling on who he is.
Yeah.
And I love that shit. I was like, this dude is like, he's fucking standing up for what it means.
Yeah.
And then the world was like, this is a shit world.
Yeah.
Allow me to show you what happens to these honorable motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Rewatching that shit, it hurts me to watch Ned fall like that because he truly was that honorable.
He was so close.
Yeah.
Also, he sent his kids back too.
He tried to.
He tried to.
But Sansa didn't want to leave. Sansa was being a. Sansa.
Also, real quick, in the book, the wine that Lancel keeps giving to Robert when they're hunting, it was like especially strong. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like normal.
Well, that's the thing. The wines from the show, like back in those times, those wines were more like just straight up hard alcohol with a wine flavor.
but that specific wine that he was drinking on the hunt was even stronger than their normal shit.
One more important thing about this episode was the opening scene where we have Tywin Lannister gutting that stag.
Oh,
and his boss has a speech about how
The lion does
the
not
world
concern
works.
himself with the opinions of sheep.
And then it was like, if someone takes our, so the lion does concern. He's like, that is a fact.
fact.
Tywin Lannister's goddamn monologue. That motherfucker, like, he gets in there and you're like, oh shit, this motherfucker means business.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy's not fucking around. Like his kids, you thought his kids were bad. It's like his kids are shit. This motherfucker right here is running the goddamn game.
Yeah.
He's like, I would be intimidated to like step in a room to act with.
Oh my god, Charles Dance laid it down.
God. I know we're skipping some things, but I'm sure there was some Keen Varys and Littlefinger scenes that kind of started their little
Chaos's ladder.
Yeah, it wasn't this one. It wasn't this season.
But
That's not this season.
No.
Nah.
But then eventually, fucking obviously, Robert dies, and Ned, tries to. I think that's episode 8. Episode 8.
Episode 8, the pointy end.
The one thing that I wanted to point out in this episode, I know this is not going to be in King's Landing, is that we got a glimpse at the White Walkers again. It happened.
The Whites.
The Whites came through.
A White was already.
Yeah. And it was just like another pullback into like this whole magical world that is lying hidden in this world right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so these motherfuckers, there's something else going on. There's a hidden, that's when I was like, they started churning a little bit.
Yeah, and we kind of knew that from the very beginning pilot scene, and it's interesting to see.
And they keep mentioning White Walkers too.
Yeah,
But no one believes anybody.
Yeah.
Like, thank God as the audience, we know what's happening.
Like their designs clearly changed. You know what I mean? As they went along. Like the first White Walker was like shadowy, not really white. Like they didn't do the effects properly yet in the pilot. And then the White that attacks John kind of looks different. Like I don't know.
He moves pretty fast too.
So,
Yeah, he's like, takes a sword out. And I guess that Whites could do that too now.
I feel like some of them are more like aware,
Yeah.
and some of them are just like.
Yeah, the more aware ones have white.
Oh, like chess? The Knight's King?
Like,
Sometimes they've got pawn, sometimes they've got knight, sometimes they've got cavalry. So yeah, maybe the Night Kings is playing like chess, and everybody else in Westeros is
They're playing checkers.
Yeah,
He's playing.
I was gonna say
the Game of
mahjong,
Thrones.
but
He's playing the Game of Thrones.
The Jorah Mormont gives him Longclaw after that.
Yeah, he
After
does.
he saves
He
him.
does.
they had a bear on it, but I figured a wolf is better.
Yeah,
It's probably not exactly how he said it, but yeah. And that's right. John is also being trained. He's a steward, and he's shitty about it. But that's when Sam, being smarter than everybody else around him, is like,
you for come on.
yeah.
And also, I think in this episode, Tyrion meets with Tywin for the first time.
Oh, so this is after the Stone Crows, after Braun, after Tyrion talked him way out, talked
we
himself out of
completely
there.
skipped Liza's trial.
After-
Oh yeah,
The first trial by combat.
Yeah. That's where Braun first steps in. He's
Oh
like,
yeah.
And
you
then,
don't fight with honor. He's like,
He followed up. So what's his name then? I push his bitch ass out the moon door. What do you mean?
And that just
then they meet
reinforces, like, what happened
the
to
clan,
Ned.
The clan.
Stone,
Yeah.
Stone Crows.
And I think during this
What's it
time,
called?
Stone Crows.
But the guy, the man.
Shagga.
Shaga.
Son of Dolph.
Shaga.
also I think during this time, there was that Rob got his troops together and shit because Ned got arrested and they were about to fight or whatever the fuck. And isn't that where like they get into that little mini fucking war that happens in like season 1 and Tyrion gets that little cut across his face, or is that later on?
No, that's at the Battle of Blackwater.
So
No,
we're technically on like episode 8 in our discussion,
no,
but
there was a battle that happened before that.
Yeah, they don't show that battle.
Right.
Yeah, I know they don't show that battle.
But Tyrion doesn't get cut in that, but he gets knocked out by someone's hammer before the battle gets started.
Out, but I think he gets cut in that episode.
He gets that big slash across his face at the bottom.
Where he gets cut.
Yeah, he gets cut.
Well, I thought there was a mini. Maybe I'm wrong. But
There is when he's like escaping. Like when he's going away from Lysa.
And then he meets with the Shay or whatever for the first time.
Shay.
Yeah, that was
actually that's episode 9 that happens.
Yeah, they're like talking in the tent. He's like, I might die, so I need to.
And John gets long claw at episode 9.
Well,
I have to go live in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, damn.
All right.
So we can talk about
But we can talk about it forever. Let's just wrap this shit up then.
Yeah, let's hit the main points at the end.
So much.
Yeah, we didn't even discuss like the last 2 episodes.
There's
of course,
so
Baylor.
much.
We know what happens in the end. It's like that moment for me was the most. There was no music after it happened. No, like the end credits.
Yeah.
It was quiet.
So you can sit with your feelings.
And I was just like looking at the credits, and I'm like, okay, there's no, okay, there's something must happen. Like there's.
I didn't think he died. I thought I was like, oh, okay, he didn't actually
Like they didn't
die.
even
I thought someone was gonna shoot an arrow or save him.
Yeah, man, I didn't know that fucking what do you call it again? I didn't know what I was gonna watch after this. I was like, what do I watch now? Who's important?
I
Like,
know.
who's the main guy?
It was a lesson. Like any other show, him being honorable and doing the right thing would have like would have worked, and would have succeeded. But that was the first time the show was like, nope. Here's the rules.
This is what heroes
get. You know what
Like,
was
it got me
even more
depressed a little bit.
powerful is that even like those that we perceived as bad guys were as fucking surprised as we were.
Yeah.
Cersei was just like, what the fuck?
No one could anticipate.
Hey, let's not. One other thing we forgot to mention. We completely forgot to mention Barry Dondarrion. He was also in the season.
Wasn't the same guy.
Different guy.
Yeah, different guy. But don't forget that like Ned sent him out to like fucking
Deal with Gregor.
Gregor, because he was being a fucking shit after Jamie's capture.
After the tourney, he was just pissed and just.
Rob calls the Bannerman. They call him King, and they're
Lord John Umber gets his fingers bitten off.
Oh yeah. He's like, that's mighty tough. Like, your fingers are gone. Like, you're okay.
He was like, ha!
My son will square off against Tormund Giant's Mane in the Battle of the Bastards. Right? That's Great John Umber, Small John Umber.
Yeah.
Man, well, the guys, we know that we're missing them so much, but we have talked for about an hour and a half, and we could talk for probably 5 hours.
Lastly,
Dragons aboard!
Oh yeah, the dragons.
When Khal Drogo, the dragons. Khal Drogo passes away.
The most satisfying part of that part for me, because like I just hated Mira Mazdur so much, and she was like, "You will not hear me scream."
And she immediately screamed.
And then she's like blood curdling scream. You're like, "That's right."
And like within seconds, I know that being burnt to death is a big deal, but she was talking hella shit.
She was singing for a minute. She held it down for a minute. She was like chanting for a minute.
So like the end of Game of Thrones, like watching the dragons come out was really what got me to be like, okay, I'm coming back for season 2. Because I'm not gonna lie, man, when Ned died, I was like, what the fuck? What am I gonna watch, bro?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like, what am I watching? Who's the main character now? This dude from Silent Hill, Kit Harington. This is the man. What? And then it got really good season 2. So.
It completely threw out everything you knew about television just out the fucking window. I'd never seen anything like that.
Every show tried to copy.
Oh, Silent Hill,
I've never seen
by the way,
like that.
had Kit Harington and Sean Bean in it.
I didn't realize Kit Harington was in that.
I think this is also the most interesting that Dany's story gets until like season 3. Season 2 was a slog for Dany.
Yeah.
She had a lot of fun in this season, and then she drags her ass through the desert.
Where are my dragons?
There was some slogging.
A lot of slogging. Slogging, noggin. All right, y'all. Anything else?
That's it. Favorite character for season 1? I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Tyrion.
Ross.
Drogo.
Mine is definitely Drogo for season 1.
I mean, Ned Stark.
Drogo was pretty good.
I'm gonna have to go with Ned Stark, bro. It just sucks to see the boy go down.
Rate the first season with hindsight of the other seasons that you've seen.
Oh,
this is
masterful 10 out of 10.
Impeccable, bro.
I mean, it's hard to beat it because, like, how could you? Like, this one, it prepared you.
The writing is so
It's
on
tight.
point this season. Too.
Every line is important. Like, literally every line is important.
Your only complaint about season 1 is maybe that it's too dense, and that just means you need to watch it again, motherfucker. Like, there's nothing to complain about. Season 1 is fucking phenomenal.
It's
hell yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, guys,
Thanks
it's been
for
good.
joining us.
Hopefully you like this format. It will be back for season 2.
It's essentially just us talking shit with the swords in the back that Joe sent us, and all the randos in Discord sent us this one.
Talking Thrones and shit.
Talking Thrones with y'all. We have 6 more episodes of this.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks.
Bye.
I'm gonna wear a crown next time.
we forgot the ice deck.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching our Game of Thrones Season 1 recap. Please leave a like if you are enjoying our content. You can check out early access content on our Patreon. And a big shout out to Luis, Joe Mags, Mark Yo, Keyboard Junkie, NYR Fan, and Philip Limbens. We'll see you guys in the next video.